kids doing here? Whoa. Don't you know this is private property?
Yeah, but...
Well, but nothing. What do you kids want? What are you looking for? There ain't nothing here but Halloween spirits. Now take your seat.
The entire piece is very trippy, in a way where you don't know what is actually happening and what is almost like a hallucination throughout the entire piece, and that really builds the suspense and horror of all of it, and makes the timeline much messier but more interesting and much more terrifying, which is really, that's the point of horror. And I think you do a really good job of making it like unclear what is truly happening, which makes it all the more unsettling at the end. I think this is acted really well. I think stylistically, you do a bunch of different things that are really fun with lighting and camera work, and really building this almost hallucinogenic vibe throughout the piece.
It looked to me like a kind of Halloween meets the Night of the Living Dead, for example. So we have these stories told in Halloween by this old man. Something happened 40 years before, but in the beginning we imagined maybe he's talking about a killer, an Halloween assassin, but then in the end we find out it's just all like a big ritual to get people back from the dead. But they don't come back as expected, they come back as zombies. I think it was very well told. And the direction is very good. It really manages to capture the feelings and the emotions of the actor, and the whole layer around the horror movie is just not only pure horror, but there's also a good amount of comedy. So the film ends up being quite a pleasant watch. So mixing between shocking moments and funny lines and funny dialogue.
Storytelling of this film was really well done, with the old man telling it to the three children. So seeing it through that lens was very creepy. Just the old man in general was a great choice, and just making everything all the more just like off and creepy, and just like sent a chill down your spine to hear him tell the story. He's so close to the camera, it's almost claustrophobic. You don't want this creepy old man so close to you. So yeah, I appreciated that a lot in terms of the horror aspect of this film and the effect that had. Really well done. How they did the sort of drug trip was also very interesting, with all the little cartoons and the twitching. It definitely gave that effect off of just being totally in a different dimension with this zombie drug. And the effects on the actual person was very unhinged, and just like made them look like they were zombies, which was very creepy. And just then to see them be devoured in that state was disturbing.
First of all, I'm not taking anything that called a zombie drug, but anyway, yeah, I really like the concept, and like how it was like the repetitive like cycle that it goes through, cycle through, and how it's like different for each person. I always love a narrative device that does that some type of thing. And then also I want to shout out the music and the sound design, because one, I really liked how it was the same motif, the same like what do they call a refrain or like a reprise, where it's like the same theme repeated. I really love when movies do that, because it's like as soon as it's like a cue, as soon as you hear that, and it's masterful, like teaching the audience, you hear that music like Jaws, you hear that music, you already know. And they did that well here, so I really like that.
This film makes me think of big pharma selling, different types of medicine. This whole ordeal of the medicine industry making, profiting off of sickness. The way that they have like this sort of campfire story that they tell at the beginning of the film. It makes me think of, me being in Kentucky and going to the lake house and telling these types of stories and being like, don't, it makes me also think of like DARE program and stuff like, don't do drugs, don't do this, or this will happen to you. It's like a cautionary tale, so to speak. And that's horror. That's horror all the way, if you ask me. A lot of literature, folklore, storytelling kind of does go off these gruesome stories. You think of Brothers Grimm, right? You have these cautionary tales that are very gruesome to really think about, and that's kind of that energy is expressed in this short film.
Right off the bat, two of the things I really enjoyed were the callbacks or the homages to just horror in general. Right from the get, the intro pays respects to the Halloween series, and then the song that plays when anyone takes the zombie pill, it has a very strong Nightmare Before Christmas elements to it. So I thought that those two Easter eggs were very neat. Additionally, it was a very interesting tale, just seeing this essentially a funeral service provider who is also essentially a drug dealer selling these people these drugs, but then the drugs themselves are causing the dead to come back to life. But I feel like the ending makes it also very open ended, where you're not sure whether any of these events have been happening or if they've all just been the result of a bad trip.
It has its spooky moments and it has its moments of just odd and funny. I did find myself having a lot of questions about what happened next for the characters in the story, but overall, very entertaining.